I mean, this story's getting boring. If he worked for me, I'd fire him. I don't want to go to war with Gensler. That's a really bad outcome for me. They've decimated their stock, they've decimated their market cap, and they want to do it again?
In today's video, O'Leary Ventures chairman Kevin O'Leary discussed remote work, the banking crisis, and commercial real estate challenges.
You've talked a lot about crypto in the past, right? You've had your own challenges, I guess, when it comes to FTX in the past.
I think that's an understatement.
Well, yes. So I guess I'm being diplomatic.
But
to bring it to today, I'm just curious how you're thinking about these latest developments.
I take a different view than others perhaps on this. I'm actually happy this is happening because from the potential of this asset class, it has been stymied, it's stuck in the mud if you want to use those words. It hasn't gone anywhere for 3 years because there has been absolutely zero institutional interest. And so people ask me, well, why is it that Bitcoin, which is probably the best index for crypto valuation, is stuck between 25,000 and 30,000 in perpetuity? Because there's zero institutional interest. And so 97% of all the world's wealth in terms of it being invested is done through sovereign wealth or institutional investors or indexed in the S&P 500, or 60% of the S&P is now ETFs. And none of this is carried in crypto. You don't find crypto anywhere. And so while it's been great to be part of this wonderful nascent community and cheering on this idea of a rogue nation of crypto trading, it's worthless. Because the asset class is a nothing burger today, and it will remain so until we resolve this issue. And so now we go on to this litigation. We've got two major claims here. Binance is completely different than the claims made against Coinbase yesterday. These are two different situations, and they need to be looked at differently. But overall, I welcome it.
So are you then long-term still very bullish cryptocurrency, as we were talking about even last year, and even in this interim period of time during the crypto ice age? How much has that impacted your own holdings? How much have you lost as a result of this interim ice age that we've seen in crypto?
Well, some of my losses had to do with FTX.
Sure.
Basically, all the whatever you want to allege to that, it'll have to go to trial, et cetera. But the asset class itself still has tremendous potential. So what I've done is reestablish our positions up to a 5% weighting. But I also realize at this point that we're going nowhere. We are not going to advance the cause. We're not going to get any capital appreciation. It's just not going to happen until the very first institution calls me up and says we're going to put a 50 basis point weighting in a $100 billion fund.
How does what has been happening clear the path for that? Because it seems what the SEC has effectively done, let's leave Binance to the side for a moment, right? Because there are some Binance-specific issues. They've effectively said all the tokens have to be regulated as securities. Does that sort of then negate the market for tokens in the U.S.? Does it just make Bitcoin valuable? What does this do to the landscape exactly in the wake of this?
Well, let's read the room. Let's go to Coinbase. Let's talk about butting heads for the last 4 years with the regulator. It's now crystal clear what Gensler wants. He is calling it a broker-dealer exchange, period. There's no grayness. Now, if I'm on the board of Coinbase or I'm a shareholder, which I'm not, and I certainly have almost taken all of our capital out of there, I have zero interest as an institutional investor in putting 1 cent into an exchange, a service, a centralized wallet that is at war with the regulator I serve every day. I have no option but to serve the SEC. If I want to issue securities, I want to participate in financial services, whether I'm here in New York or I'm in Abu Dhabi or London, England, or in Zurich, we all play by those rules. We have for decades. We understand the rules. We've built it into our systems. We report to it. There is no optionality there. And then you say, here's an asset class you're interested in investing in, but while you're at it, we're going to war with the SEC. So you can invest with us and we'll go to war. Our fourth battle with the SEC, maybe there's a new idea. Here's a new idea for you. How about swapping out the management of Coinbase, finding a new leader that doesn't want to be Don Quixote in front of windmills and constantly fight a regulator that's told him 3 times no. The answer is no. And I hear it, the rest of the world hears it, but apparently he doesn't. And I hate to be critical, but why can't we find a leader that wants to sit down with the staff and Gensler himself and say, Okay, worst case, hear me out on this. Let's agree Bitcoin is a security. Let's say USDC is an actual equity that pays a dividend, okay? Let's treat USDC as not a speculative asset, but when it pays yield, that's interest income. If you want to lend a token, that's a dividend. And it's a security. When you up or sell, if you sell it or you don't, or you make money, you don't, that's a long-term or short-term capital gain. What's so wrong with that? Why not agree to that and then have $1 trillion come into the market once you've had that agreement? I'm okay with whacking Brian, he's a great guy, putting someone else in there.
He's a great guy. We can get rid of him, but he's a great guy.
He's a pioneer. But if he worked for me, I'd fire him. I don't want to go to war with Gensler. That's a really bad outcome for me. They've decimated their stock. They've decimated their market cap. And they want to do it again?
Do you chase the FOMO trade in AI?
I don't chase it, but I already own those names. I've owned the semis. I've also owned Microsoft. I've owned Google. These have been names that are part of our portfolio and have been forever as equity. So we've enjoyed this extraordinary run on tech. We have an index that does that. So I'm not worried about that exposure. You're right. We've taken down crypto a lot while we wait out the war. We're at war now, and so Binance is a. I'm actually. It would be great to resolve this. Let the last shoe drop. Binance has that BNB token. If it goes to zero, it's FTX all over again. And once this is over, and once we've agreed that these are securities, and once we've agreed that these are broker-dealers under the same rules that everybody else has to operate, we have a new nascent industry that's going to take off again. This should be considered a rebirth, and I'll take my asset allocation back up to 20% when that occurs. What's wrong with that? I mean, this story is getting boring. It's getting boring. Hey, let's fight the Securities and Exchange Commission one more time.
Sure.
What a stupid idea.
And trying to telegraph Q3 2023 recession. How are you looking at that? How are you trading around that? How do you believe the Fed has done in terms of their own job?
I have to admit, and I've been a Fed watcher, I have to be for my whole career because I'm trying to figure out, like everybody else, what they're going to do with rates. This is an extraordinary situation. We may actually, and I say we as a market, may have actually engineered a soft landing. We have been waiting. This is the most highly anticipated recession that's never appeared. Number two, I think there'll be another 50 basis points of rate hikes to get us kind of into that 5.5 terminal rate, which means money will trade at sort of 7 and 7.5% in the best credits, all the way up to 15%. We've had great economies with rates like that in the past. And we are still at full employment. And here's the one challenge. The data hasn't changed on inflation. It's still north of 4%. So if you think the Fed's going to stop, I think you're nuts. They're going to keep going. Another 25 basis point, another 25 basis point after that. And for all the criticism that Powell's taken, he has been a master of guiding this ship to a slowdown that looks like it won't even be a deep recession. Right now it looks like that. And as evidenced by new highs in the market. I mean, are you kidding? This guy should be given an Oscar. I mean, he's done a hell of a good job. And so, yeah, he'll get bashed every day, and that it's political and all the rest. But tell me what he's done wrong as evidenced by where the market is today.